Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. I don't really have a lot to cover, I've got about 6 albums to go through. I do want to address the fact that I didn't review the most recent Fight the Night though, because simply I didn't have time because we were moving stuff around the house. Which is like dying down a bit more these days, but we still got some stuff to do. However, if you want a quick review of that fight, I thought it was pretty decent, even though it didn't look like Lemos was losing any of the rounds, and I understand why she won, but not in my top 10. But decent fight. The third round's pretty fun, I will admit. But that's not what this video is about. We got 6 albums to go through, so I say we go through them. We begin with Bloom and what I think is their first album, Maybe in Another Life. This is a band from the UK, I think, and these are very like emo-leaning sort of hardcore punky acts. And really enjoyed this one. I thought it had solid emotion to it, really good song structuring in some places, giving it a B+. I like the production of it, a very like organic feel, a bit clean. Well, maybe a tiny bit too clean in some areas, but I really like it. The main focus here is the emotion in the lyrics, with good themes of depression and anxiety, and the performances of the band as well are really good. I really think the instrumentation is a really nice part of it as well. I like the bass work. There's actually some really goddamn good bass work on this album, which is not uncommon for hardcore punk, but it's not something you hear a lot of, so it's nice to get more of it. I do think the pacing is maybe one of my biggest sort of issues, maybe my biggest, because it feels like there's a couple too many short songs that are just there to satisfy the lols hardcore people. But, this is not a funny album. It's a fairly sad one. Not the saddest album I'm going to be covering. We'll get to that quite soon, actually. But I really liked it, and for a first offering, or at least the first one I'm hearing from the band, a really good start, and, they just need to make the necessary adjustments, but they've got all the right pieces. It reminded me a lot of Pupil Slice's debut in a way, and if that is the case, then in a few years' time, Bloom, could put out an album of the year candidate. Sorry, I've been grabbing my hair a lot in this video, but yeah, really good stuff. Can recommend. Next we have Farsot with their newest album, Life Promised Death. This is a band from Germany. I think they're, I was going to say I think they're a deathy sort of band. They are a deathy band. Deathy, sort of doomish, sort of black metal stuff. They do have a distinct thing. I just can't remember exactly what it was. But I think because I was burned out by the last Spectral Voice album, I really wound up enjoying this one a lot more than I thought I would. I'm giving it a B+. At first, when the album starts, I wasn't thinking a lot of it, but it's something that throws in so many tricks and so on as it goes along. I will admit, it's probably the most depressing album that I've heard all year so far. It is not an album that's easy to read the lyrics for, or even easy to listen to, because even though there's a lot of like scream vocals on here, it's very easy to decipher what's being said, and it's not happy. Very heavy themes about death and loss and suffering, but like told to a very dour degree. It's really hard to make that stuff sound positive, I know, but fucking hell, I actually felt really bad after listening to this album. Not because it's a bad album, because it is not, but fuck, I needed to just shut down for a bit after this, after listening to it. I've listened to it a couple of times. Still can't recommend it though. I got really dark there, I'm sorry. Good lyrical theme though. I like the performances. I think they're really dedicated. Instrumentation is quite good. I like the pacing quite a bit as well. I was actually quite surprised at how as the album goes along, because I think there's like 9 songs on it. I think there's only 7. I could be wrong. It might be 8 for all I know. But as it goes along, it does mix up the structuring a bit and actually tries to tell a really good story. I was not expecting this to go the way it did. Maybe there's some production issues. I feel like it might be a little bit too coagulated in some places, but still really solid for a band that's been around for a fair bit as well. I think this is their like 7th album or something. So yeah, a pleasant surprise. Probably one of the bigger like surprise albums I've heard so far. And again, quite depressing. But if you don't mind that, I recommend giving it a spin. Next we have Idols with Tank, aka probably the biggest album I'm covering in this video. Now, I like Idols, do not get me wrong. I think Idols are bloody great. I have seen a lot of people saying that this album is probably their best one since Joy's an Act of Resistance. And I'm not super inclined to agree. I'm giving it an A-, which is the second highest grade on the episode. Yeah, I really did like it because it's Idols. They're an exceptionally charming band with a lot of meaning to their art. They mix stuff up quite a bit on this one. There's their usual post-punk stuff, but they mix in like some funk elements and some hip-hop and some more poppy stuff, and it works for them. I wish that they did it more. I think the problem is that it just kind of feels like another Idols album. It's going to be good, but they're not really a band that seems like they feel the need to really push the boat out a lot, and they actually tried to do that a bit on here. And I think it might be maybe my least favorite Idol album, probably. I don't know. I haven't listened back to any of the previous couple between this and Droids and Active Resistance. I do still like the band, don't get me wrong. I think they're incredible. I think Joe Talbot is an incredibly charming vocalist. I like the theme on the album too, because it's the least aggressive album by far. It's an album that's all love songs. All of the facets of love, all of the joys it can bring, all of the lows it can bring. And yeah, structurally wise, it's pretty solid. It does have that standard Idols stuff to it, but for the most part, it does work. Production's good. Pretty much most things about it are really, really, really good. It's just, it's kind of another Idols album. You're not really going to get a whole bunch new, and that's considering the fact that they tried to do some new stuff. But if you like Idols, like I do, I recommend giving it a spin. Next is one of the more unique ones I've covered. Ihsahn with what I think is his 8th album, self-titled, Ihsahn. So this is a Norwegian, this is the alias of a Norwegian black metal, avant-garde black metal artist, right? I think he does vocals and guitar, I think he does all the instrumentation, and this gets the highest grade of the episode with an A. I did not really know what to expect from this. It did remind me of another album, which I'm going to be covering in the first catch-ups episode. Expect a lot of those this year when I could find the time to do them. Really liked it, though. I thought this was proper good shit. Really incredible pacing. I like the sort of symphonic elements added to black metal, and it's a genre mixing I love so much. I think Ihsahn's central performance is great, his vocals are really good. It does seem to lend itself to a concept, even though I couldn't find much on lyrics, but I did like what I was hearing. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that there are some points of the album where it feels like what would happen if Disney songwriters tried to make a black metal album. I just had that vibe from it at times, and I'm not sure why it reminded me so much of that. It's not a thing I hate being reminded of, because I like Disney even through all their faults, all their many faults, but really good shit nonetheless. If I could have pegged onto a lyrical theme, I think it would be slightly higher ranks, but I think Ihsahn's performance is great. I think the instrumentation is damn near hypnotic, and I love the mixing of genres, lending itself to actually making the structuring, which is, it's quite a long album, but it makes the structuring a lot more interesting as a result. I do think production's great too, really, really clean and very, very vibrant, but I do think it kind of fails to stick the landing, because the second to last song is this 9-minute epic, and it's probably my favourite song on the album. Well, it's one of my favourite songs on the album, and the last song after that is like a 1 minute 40 sort of ambient thing that feels so tacked on. Like, I get that why that wasn't at the start of the album, because there was an intro song as well, but why couldn't this small song have just not been there? It doesn't make any sense, but it's still really good symphonic black metal if you're into that, so I can recommend. Next we have Laura Jane Grace with what I think is her second solo studio album, Hole in My Head. Now, Laura Jane Grace is someone I know from ages and ages ago with a band called Against Me, who I never really listened to. In fact, the first Against Me album I listened to was Transgender Dysphoria Blues, which I listened to near the start of last year. That's on me. That would also be the last Against Me album before, what would happen. Obviously, Laura Jane Grace coming out as a trans woman, and having a ton of support by the punk community, especially Pro Wrestling CM Punk, which is amazing, but not, still having some personal troubles after the fact, and those are detailed quite nicely in Hole in My Head, which I'm also going to give a B+. I think it's got some really good folk punk rock vibes to it. I like the mix of acoustic guitar with the more punk rocky stuff. I do feel like that they're in two separate lanes at points, which is a shame, because I think everything else about the album is really quite good. I do think the structuring, it suffers from being a bit short, but it does what it needs to do, and it actually adds some good things, like some sort of weird 50s vibes at points, which actually fit the sound of the album quite well, and it's a vibe that Laura's able to capture through her incredible voice. She's really good at singing, and I like how good she sings on it. She's proper fucking good at it, and it does help with the pacing as well. I think production's good, maybe again a tad too clean, but nothing really to complain about. The main sticking point for me are Laura's performance and also the lyrics about sex, lust, and addiction, and being transgender, which are still like huge points that have carried on ever since she came out. I'm glad that she's still talking about the topics. It's very fucking important to do that. No repetitiveness either. I do feel like it loses a bit of a storytelling edge at points, but it doesn't really matter when Laura's just a naturally great storyteller with her lyrics anyway. And if you want a great example of that, listen to Transgender Dysphoria Blues. But if you want to hear a sequel to that album, this might fill the gap for you. It's just really good shit. And finally, we have Pestilence with what I think is their third album titled Solar Clorax. These are a Spanish duo, which surprised me because I think there's more people on this album. It just sounds that big. There's a duo from Spain, sort of a deathy, more deathy doomy, very heavy metal stuff. I think it's more traditionally death metal. I'm giving this one the lowest grade of the episode, but that grade is a B. I really enjoyed this one a lot. Much like Farsight's album, it actually surprised me with how subversive it was with its structuring. It actually throws in some really nice tricks, even more tricks than Farsight's does. And it's got some really good instrumentation to it as well. If you just want really guttural, heavy-leaning death metal / black metal stuff, this will fit that gap. If you want good lyrics and storytelling, that's not because they're bad, but it's because the vocals are too guttural for me to understand anything, and there's no lyrics written on either the Metallum page or the Bandcamp page. Which is weird because I know there's lyrics on the fucking album, but I couldn't find anything about them, and I tried looking up themes and couldn't find any. So if you want the lyrics, then no. But if you just want heavy, really nice condensed production, and some really surprisingly good structural changes and some good performances, give this one a spin. I actually quite liked it for those reasons. I just wish I had more of a story to tell. But this is still a band who are quite young, and Spain is rich with really good metal acts, so it's nice to hear another one come out from there. And that'll about do it. First, I'll do the official ranking system because people always watch these. I'll go with at the bottom, Pestilence with Solar Clorax, Farsight with Life Promised Death because I think the album's a bit depressing, Bloom with Maybe in Another Life, Laura Jane Grace with Hole in My Head, Idols with Tank, and Isam with the self-titled one. But as always, go listen to all of these yourself, formulate your own opinions, because that's what makes this shit interesting. As for favourite song and favourite album cover, I think they're both from the same album. So favourite song is Hard Feelings from Hole in My Head, and favourite album cover is The Hole in My Head. Really liked both quite a lot, although a very close second for favourite cover is Farsight's album because it just looks really nice. I don't know, it's that weird thing where it should look gruesome, but it just looks kind of fucking cool. Also, Pestilence album cover is fucking great too. Just really good album covers this past weekend, but if I had to pick for favourite song and favourite album covers, both gotta go to Laura Jane Grace's new offering. That'll about do it for this one though. Next thing I'll see you for will be tomorrow, which is the, not the Go Home show, the halfway show, leading up to War of Attrition. I've got a card sorted, I just need to get it finalised by my lovely booking council, and then that'll be ready to go, and I can't fucking wait to do that. That's gonna be cool. I'll see you all tomorrow for that, and possibly a reaction, because While She Sleeps dropped a new song, so it might be that, because they're my favourite band. I don't know if I have my While She Sleeps shirt available, but if I don't, it's not going to be a big worry. So expect maybe a reaction, but definitely a stream, and I'll see you all tomorrow. As always, thank you for watching, you're awesome. I'll get this right eventually. Bye bye.